back. That's right. The IBM official podcast, which still is known as the IBM official podcast, much to Scott's chagrin.
We got to
He
get a
keeps trying to
name.
give it a name. He's like, no, this thing has to have a name. And I
We
keep going,
should
it's
ask.
the IBM official podcast. That's
We
the
should.
name.
This is a dangerous thing, Jason. We should ask everyone what the name should be.
That sounds dangerous to me because now we're crowdsourcing it, and
But
this thing could be
you know
named
what? It'll give us
anything.
something else to talk about next time.
Absolutely. Friends, my name is Jason Michaels. I am your host. I am joined by my two co-hosts, Scott Cantrell and Ben Young. Big cheers for the guy. No cheers.
Hi,
No
everybody.
cheers. No cheers. Okay.
I'm still
So,
processing if we're feeling dangerous or not.
absolutely. Well, today, I don't think we're going to be too controversial today. I do tend to get into controversial subjects from time to time, but today we have a cool topic and a cool guest that we're talking to. We'll get to that in just a second. Real quickly, I just saw both of you at the Winter Carnival of Magic. Did y'all have a good time?
It was a blast.
It was a blast.
The 50th anniversary Winter Carnival, and rumor has it the last one. I mean, that's what they're claiming. We'll see if more, pop up in the future. But it was fantastic. You know what I enjoyed? I enjoyed. So we all have a friend, Lance, who we've known for years, and we all attend the Winter Carnival of Magic together. And Lance was in the contest. And you know what's fun about conventions is you have your friends and the people you hang out with and the folks that you enjoy, but that doesn't mean you get to see them work always. I mean, maybe they'll
Right.
do a card trick for you when you're just sessioning or whatnot, but does it just mean you get to actually see them work? But Lance was in the contest, and we got to see him do the thing he's been working on most recently. He told me that he spent some time uh, with McBride and some folks really working this routine out. And so it was super fun for me just to because I haven't seen Lance work since back in the days when I mean I have seen him work, but I haven't seen him in like a competition setting
Mhm.
since back in the days that he and I were both competing. And so I had a blast watching that. What were y'all's did you have any specific highlights from the convention?
For me, I mean, Winter Carnival was my first convention. I was a Ring 58 member. Ring 58 is the group in Knoxville that puts on the convention. So it's my home, my original hometown ring, so to speak. And so for me, I loved the lectures were great. The shows were stellar because it was the 50th anniversary. And like you said, presumably the last one. And so, they went all out with the talent and everything. So it was phenomenal. So the performances were great. But for me, really any convention, but especially Winter Carnival, where I know so many people who were there,
Yeah.
it was just about hanging out,
Mhm.
sessioning, having some laughs, joking around. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's what I enjoyed most.
And we
Yeah,
had friends come over from
Ben,
across the
you can't.
pond
Ben,
too.
you don't talk, Ben, this time.
clearly.
No, no, no. Ben gets to participate, but like I was trying to do. That's called trying a segue. That guy
Oh, I'm
does,
sorry,
and so
Jason. Continue
bam.
with your segue.
Okay, so I was going to say that we had friends visited from across the pond. Like I got to hang out with some folks that I know through House of Cards, John Allen and R. Paul Wilson. But Tiff, Ben, you saw Tiff Savage, and
Yep.
you good
Yep.
friends with her. She lives in Paris.
Yep. The new Georgia Wonder. And it was so cool because she and I have been friends for years, but I haven't seen her in a lot of years. And she's on my team for one of my other businesses too. And she did her new Georgia Wonder lecture, which was
Which was
super,
very
super cool.
cool.
Opened the convention.
Yes.
Uh, and I had never seen her do it live, and so that was really, really unreal. And yeah, like Scott said, it was just so good to see so many people that you don't always get to see or that you basically see once a year. And it just felt like a big family reunion kind of
Mhm.
thing, and especially just being just basking in the nostalgia of it being my hometown convention as well and going, oh my gosh, this is the last time I'm going to walk up the hill to the theater and the last time I'm going to walk down the hill to the Ramada. and, but I actively was trying to make a point to kind of stop and think about that, in the moment, go, oh, wow, this
Right.
is like after the last show Saturday night
Yeah.
and I was walking out of the lobby, I'm like, this is it, presumably, right? I mean, this
Right.
is
Yes.
the last one. So it's just so much fun. And we've talked about this on the pod too. What I love about conventions like this is that are more general is you just get to see so many different kinds of magic and different kinds of performers. And I love that because there's never a dull moment. You don't get tired of seeing card tricks over and over because you get the variety. You get a dove act and then an illusionist and then mentalism and then probably a healthy dose of card tricks. And so I just love that.
I'm kind of surprised, Ben. I'm just going to be honest with you. I thought you were going to say your favorite part of the convention was when you got recognized because of the podcast. I mean, you did tell me that somebody stopped you. I mean, look, this podcast is
happened.
taking off, people. It's
Unbelievable.
taking off. Ben Young.
What Jason's not saying is I was the one who recognized Ben from the podcast.
Aren't you the one from the
No.
podcast?
Yeah. That's what no, Ben, tell that story because
I
makes us feel good.
was so caught off guard. I was like on my way to breakfast or
I'm
something.
not sure if I should take that. I feel like that's a slight against me. I was so caught off guard. Wait, we're doing a podcast? Like, is that a good idea?
Look, I know that we're recording the video here, but in my millennial head, podcasts are for listening. So the fact that someone saw my face and was like, "You have a podcast," and I was like, "Well, okay, now hold on. I do not have a podcast." I was tricked into being, I chose to be on one. I chose to be part of one. And I was like, maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I was like, yeah, maybe. What do you think I'm on? And he's like, oh, you're on the I.B.M. podcast. I'm like, yep.
Got me.
That's enthusiasm right there. Yep, I'm on it. That's me.
But I actually also talked to friends of mine. I didn't know that guy, but I had friends of mine that said that they've been listening and watching as well.
And we really appreciate that.
So yeah, thank you so much for listening. We'll try to keep the good stuff coming, right? And weed out all of the bits.
The longer it goes, the less good stuff we have. So I mean,
and the more bits we have.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, one of the cool things about doing this podcast is we get to have special guests on, and today we have Keith Fields on, who has quite a reputation as being a performer and a creator. He is involved with the I.B.M. as far as the executive committee, looking like he's going to continue that journey. We can talk about all of that, but one of the reasons that we're talking about the Winter Carnival is because and the competition is because Keith is taking over the Keith and Lady Sarah, both of them are taking over the competition at the I.B.M. convention. And I remember just like 2 or 3 years ago, Keith brought a couple of mentees. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to call them students, but some of your magicians that you work with that are younger, and they came and competed at the Winter Carnival, and then they went to the I.B.M. convention and crushed it, like took first place. Welcome to the podcast, Keith Fields. I want to talk about all of it.
Thank you very much. I think that was my cue to say something.
Yeah.
If you don't jump in there, I just keep
Well, I'm just looking forward to being recognized like Ben was, because apparently that's what happens now when you get on the I.B.M. official podcast.
You did
from now on.
You didn't realize this was like your big moment.
No, absolutely.
This is your break.
Fame is ahead of me. That's what I'm.
So now people now when someone says, "Hey, Keith," they recognize you. You know that they recognize you from here and nothing else.
Nothing
you've ever done.
Exactly.
More than likely.
Yeah.
Hey, Keith, tell us about your experience at the Winter Carnival, because we just had it over the weekend. And did you enjoy the time that you all came down a couple of years back?
I've been to the Winter Carnival at least twice, if not 3 times. And it is a fantastic convention. It's got a real unique sort of friendly feel to it. It's one of those, you feel you belong when you're there. And it was a fantastic time. But yeah, it was I suppose taking, as you mentioned a moment ago, taking Dragon and Ferren Charles to do the competition there was the start of their competition journey, and probably the start of us getting involved in taking over the I.B.M. competition as well. We've been it's one of the few competitions that are left nowadays. I think they seem to be dying out, which is very sad. So and now we're losing the Winter Carnival competition, of course, with the passing of the Winter Carnival. And as you guys said, I do hope they manage to resurrect it, but I think it's venue issues, isn't it? Did I hear it was that was the problem? Yeah. That's
a big part of it. Yeah, Tom Vorjahan talked about it in a prior podcast, but Yeah, the a lot of the businesses are opening up earlier in Pigeon Forge, which makes it more difficult to find
Yeah, it just
a,
means
a place.
we need to find another convention to go hang out at. That's all.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Not that I'm going to plug another convention, but I just
Hey,
happen to have
wait, is
this
that the
poster right
Michigan
here.
Oh, that's right.
Michigan Magic Day? Tell me about it.
Michigan Magic Day is a local convention in Michigan, which has been going on for quite a few years. I don't think we're up to 50 yet, but we've been going on for quite a few years. It's an annual one-day convention, and it sort of is run by different IBM rings in Michigan. So this year it's the turn of the Detroit Magic Club. So it's right here in Detroit, which is going to
When
be.
is it, Keith? Tell us.
It is on May the 16th and 17th. 16th, we have a sort of a night before party, which is basically a hangout and a little show in a room in a local hotel. And there's probably going to be about 70 or 80 of us there. And
Oh,
then the
nice.
main day is the 17th of May, and it's headlined by Steve Valentine and David
Mm,
Barr.
wow.
And we've got a lot of other surprises as well. And that's an all-day event on May the 17th here in Detroit. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We've already got over 100 people registered, so
Oh, wow.
it's a we're reckoning 150 people is probably what we're going to have at the convention, with probably another 100 lay people coming to the evening show.
And what competition are y'all doing for Michigan Magic Day, Keith?
We're not having a competition.
Oh, okay.
Part of it's difficult to fit a competition in on a one-day
Yeah,
convention.
yeah, that's true.
They're
That's true.
really, you need more. It needs to be a weekend convention or a 3-day or something like that. Otherwise, there
Yeah,
just isn't time because you need to give people what they want, and what they want is lectures and shows. And I
yeah.
know the competition is a show, but it's yeah, you've got to sort of structure the day, and have all the right elements in the right places. And we thought about doing a one-trick competition at one point. That was
Oh,
what we were going to do, but unfortunately, with everything else we got planned, something had to drop out. And
if you do a one trick competition, if that trick has 13 phases, is that still a one trick competition? It's
I
like
think
your
that's a
best
discussion for
ambitious
another
card.
podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Keith, I want to
Yes, sir.
know about Farron and Dragon's journey in competing, because since then, Farron took first place at the International Brotherhood of Magicians convention in the competition, and Dragon, I think Dragon took second place, and
Dragon took second place.
Dragon was just on Penn and Teller Fool Us.
He was on, yeah. I mean, both those guys, we've been very lucky to be able to work with them. They say they did Winter Carnival first, and on that one, I think Farron came. Did Farron come second? I
I
think,
think so.
and
Or
Dragon wasn't
actually,
placed. And then, but
don't
they both
remember.
had a great experience. That's the thing, competition magic. When the bug bites, I think competition magic is a hugely exciting thing to be a part of. It's got so many. There are so many good reasons to do a competition. So they got into this and they discovered it was fun and they had fun doing it and they wanted to do the I.B.M competition and they go into that and we as a mentor or whatever I mean we looked at the competition and we looked at there was a fantastic close-up guy, Jeffrey Wang. I don't know if you know Jeffrey.
I remember
Absolutely
that.
brilliant. And we looked at the competition, who was on the competition a month before, and he wasn't on the competition. And we were thinking, oh, it's looking good. And then he's on the competition, and we going, oh, it's not looking so good. But the thing about competitions is what matters is what happens on the day.
Sure.
And in a competition, anything can happen on the day. And all that Jeffrey was great, our boys were great, everyone was great. I mean, the competition is designed to showcase performers. It's not designed to put performers under so much pressure that they can't bear the experience. It's meant to be a fun experience, an experience people grow through, and an experience people learn through. And I say, luckily, Ferren and Dragan came in first and second, and Jeffrey Wang got the People's Choice.
Oh, that's like the perfect.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
Jeffrey Wang doesn't feel like that's the perfect outcome, but but you guys do.
Well, we were very happy, obviously, but it was one of those nail-biting finales because the three of them were very clearly the standout performers
Yeah.
of the competition, and we knew the three of them. We just didn't know which way the dice were going to fall on the particular occasion, but it was for us hugely exciting and a huge honor to be a part of it. And the other thing about competition magic, of course, is it puts people's it gives you a name, it gives you something to hang your hat on and say, look, I'm this good, I've achieved this.
What if you
And
don't
as a
win?
result of that, we've managed to open doors for them to appear in other conventions. They've both performed at the Magic Castle, the Chicago Magic Lounge, and various other things. So
Do you attribute that? Do you attribute the competition magic forcing them to create an act that would work in that type of setting? Do you attribute it to the opportunity to go to the castle and things like that?
Absolutely, it's the discipline of actually saying now I've got to do a 10-minute act. It's got to be within a time limit because when you're working somewhere like the Magic Castle, people don't realize that actually timing is very important
Yep.
because in the close-up room you're doing 4 shows in I think it's about a 2-hour time period. And a venue like the Magic Castle, it's all about audience flow. They want to move the audience from venue A to venue B to the bar and then to venue C and then back to the bar. And I guess if the show's overrun, then people aren't given this sort of flow and the bar take drops because people aren't going to drink and all these things are important in a big operation like the castle. So learning timekeeping, which is one of the things you learn from doing competition magic, is absolutely vital. But yeah, it opened lots of doors, and is still opening doors today. I mean, Dragan was also on what's the other Masters of Illusion as well. He's done that this year.
Oh, I didn't know
Um,
that.
so
That's
yeah,
awesome.
well, you obviously haven't been watching. He's been on there
I am
twice so far
guilty.
this season.
I am
Yeah,
guilty.
yeah, he's getting more television than I am.
So when they are working, and obviously I don't want to just talk about Farron and Dragon, but one last question: when they were working on creating this act, um, were these things that they were doing normally, or did they say we're competing, we're going to create something special for competition, which gets noted and things like Masters. Look, the thing about television shows like Masters of Illusion or Penn and Teller Fools, they're looking for something different that hasn't been seen before. If
Hmm.
you're doing the same tricks that have been performed on those shows, the chance of you getting on the shows are zero. You will not get on the show if the tricks that you're doing are the same tricks that have already been on there. So, um, were the competition acts created specifically to compete, or were these things they were already doing and you just made some tweaks?
They are two very different performers.
Yeah.
So they actually both took a fairly different route to
Hmm.
what they were doing. Farron loves coin magic. There's something about coin guys, and he will
Hmm.
spend. I mean, he does some really top. Obviously, he won. He must be quite good, but he does some really first class coin magic, and he's actually taken what he was working on at the competition and taken it several stages further as well, which is so exciting. He hasn't just stopped. In fact, we're trying to get him to actually go into the competition again because some of his new stuff is really exciting. So Theron is very much a coin guy. Consequently, there's a big foundation of coin work, which we're all aware of, and he has built on that and added some of his own stuff to it. But I think
Mm.
there's a solid foundation in the coin work area. There's only so many things you can do, with coins. They can go from hand to hand, as in the three fly, or they can matrix on a table, whatever it is. But there's a limit to the concepts that you can come up with coin magic. He has come up with a few of his own, and we're hugely excited about that. But
Mm.
that's his ballpark, that's his area. Draken, on the other hand, he's got a different approach. He is a more wider. He's a very good card worker, but he's also a bit of an artist as well. So he developed a lot of stuff, which was all about doodling and art. And what he was doing was some of the ideas, some of the things he used were very much his own creation, and some of the ideas were things that he'd seen and played with and had his own twist on them. So his act was much more original
Yeah.
from a the first time you see it sort of point of view, because he had a notebook with all his doodles in and all the magic sort of came from the notebook. So it had a really nice theme. And I think that's a good approach to competition magic because you have got a limited time to fill, usually about sort of 8 to 10 minutes at most. So if you can find some sort of theme, I think that's a nice way to approach competition magic. So coin magic, as I say, this, I think as magicians we sometimes go, oh yeah, we've seen the sky hooks thing and we've seen three fly, and we don't realize the new stuff that is being brought to it by this particular performer sometimes, because we don't know the history of that particular piece. So it was easier for Dragon to show originality. But they have both grown and learned so much through the process, and I think that's the underlying thing about competition magic. You will learn so much through the experience, and you will make great friends with the other competitors and they've gone on to stay in touch with each other and learn and share ideas with each other. So there are so many good reasons for doing the competition, and watching them, Dragon and Farron, grow through it has been hugely exciting for us.
So yeah, no, there are. Yeah, I agree, and I have a little bit of a competition background as well. And we're discussing all the reasons why competition is beneficial. As far as the reasons that competition is not a good idea, Ben. Sorry,
I
sorry.
sense there's a story there that I don't know.
That's like such a great segue. Ben, tell us about your story with competing when you did it.
Actually, I have no idea if Ben's ever competed.
I know, but
I just thought that would be funny.
Oh,
that's perfect.
Oh, I thought you were setting up because you knew that I competed one time.
Actually,
and you didn't know that I knew that.
No,
Oh.
tell it. No, actually, actually, the whole idea is that I just want to know, because there are competitions on many levels. Even local magic clubs have oh, we're going to have our, one night competition where everybody's, whoever wins the funniest magic trick in the night type thing. What are Scott, Ben, tell us your competition stories.
Ben, go for it. You have this perfect setup. So
okay, yeah. So when I was, I guess, 12 or 13, I was about to go. I had just joined the ring, and I was about to go to my very first magic convention ever, which of course was the Winter Carnival. And I heard that there was a magic competition, and I didn't really know anything about magic competitions at the time. I just sort of heard, okay, this seems like, and actually, I don't think people that were in the ring were supposed to be able to compete because we were putting on the whole thing, but I think they let me because I was a kid. But
sure,
I just figured, when you're young, you don't really think about things. I don't know why I wanted to do it. I just figured
fearless. Yeah.
I was just 100% participation. I'm just going to do all the things.
Hey, man, good for you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I might have been a little out of my element.
Sure.
I did an ambitious card routine.
At 12?
It wasn't a good ambitious card routine.
Was this in the stage show, I assume?
Yeah.
So it was, well, what was funny is it was close up, but it was before they had kind of figured out how to rotate the performers around or rotate the audience around. So we were in the big theater where they had built a platform kind of at the front, below the stage in front of everyone. So I can't imagine it looked that great. And my technical skill was not wonderful, but I had a whole presentation about how the card, I had found a frog at my parents' house and that had jumped into a water bowl. And so I called the card Hoppy. This was autobiographical. I had found a frog in a water bowl outside.
This is good stuff. I'm writing it down.
Yes. Well done, Keith.
Yes. Hey, kids that are listening, if you ever want to compete in a magic competition, do the opposite of everything I'm saying. So I called the card Hoppy. It jumped to the top, 5 million times or whatever. And then at the end, went through the close-up mat and was underneath the table, like a penetration.
Ooh.
And, I wore my Houdini t-shirt. I didn't really know. I'd never seen a competition before. Had no idea the sort of caliber of things that people were going to be doing.
Wow.
And I was definitely a little embarrassed. I mean, I wasn't too torn up about it, but I definitely realized oh, this is not, I don't know what I was thinking, but it's not what I thought it was. The funny thing is that a few years later, when I was 16, I ran into somebody who remembered it. And he's like, oh yeah, hey, you did that, you did the thing about the frog, right? No,
oh, wow.
No.
That's amazing.
It was actually Joel Givens. It was a great magician from North Carolina, South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Joel Givens
yeah.
recognized you from that's
From
actually
Poppy.
that's cool.
Yeah. But of course, this was happening when I was like 16 or 17, when I really did not want to be recognized for something I did when I was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a lot better now. And then I showed him something that was horrible, I'm sure. So
You showed him
that is my
Poppy version 2.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I can do a double now. So,
You know what?
so
Kudos to you for being a young person who just wanted to participate. I mean, there's something to be said for that. And obviously you learned something from it. I mean, and you did get recognized. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why we compete and why it is beneficial.
Yeah.
Scott, do you have any
Can I just
Yeah.
interrupt for a
competition
second?
stories?
Just Ben,
Yeah,
I've just thought of a great finish for that. If you ever do it again, you
Yeah.
pick up the pack of cards and give it a shake, and a whole load of frog spawn falls out all over the mat. That would be absolutely brilliant. And
I really should. There's so many directions it could go.
yeah,
I should revisit it.
If the card penetrates all the way through the table, right?
Yeah.
Then you have to bend down below the edge of the table to pick up the card. And when you come back up, quick change into a frog costume.
I like it. I like it.
Rivet.
Ben is
That's what
known for wearing costumes on stage. He's done that before.
We'll have to talk about that on another episode of the
Yeah,
podcast.
He's just moving this conversation along.
Everybody come to the I.B.M. National so you can see Hoppy version 2. No, I have a couple of competition stories. So when I was younger, I competed. It's not something that I really ever decided to do when I got older, just for different reasons. A lot of it was just the time commitment that is required to do a really good job. And I think it's important, Keith, you were talking about Varen and Dragon, and I've seen both of their acts, and they're just absolutely stupendous. Jason, had the privilege of working with you on your competition act, and I just know how much time goes into an act if you truly want to give it a go of winning, right? And it's also perfectly fine to get the experience, right? It's winning is not everything, although if you're competing and you want to win, you got to put in the time. I didn't know that when I was younger, and so I didn't have Hoppy, but when I had just joined Ring 58, I competed at Winter Carnival as well. And apparently, I just found this out at Winter Carnival 2 days ago, that the footage of that competition exists somewhere. So there's video footage of my first, I know Jason's leaning in,
Really?
of my first video competition. And we're on the lookout for it. So if we get it, then if I get it and we'll post it on our podcast page so everyone can see it. But don't use
Does
that as
that
a
mean
template.
wait, does that mean that there's video of Hoppy too?
Where you there could be
They might have been doing video projection, which means that there might have been something recorded.
there might have been something recorded. I know with mine there was someone specifically recording because he was going to record someone else's act, and he got mine too. So anyway,
never mind. So hopefully
But-
Hoppy's dead. I mean, alive and thriving.
So I by no means did I win, but there were two unintended consequences or happy outcomes, happy results from my experience that I did not anticipate when I was competing. First of all, I learned so much more than I thought I could possibly learn from being on stage for 8 minutes and doing magic.
Did you have a much of a background, like being on stage before then?
I would have been 16 or 17, so I would have been doing magic for about 5 years at that
Okay.
point.
All right,
But
that's
it would have been the casual family show or birthday party thing.
Yeah.
And I was just getting into the magic community, right?
Got
So
it.
I didn't have my own standards, my own performance standards at the time at all, right? My eyes were starting to be open to what was possible. So, but when I got the judges' score sheets back, I don't remember who the judges were, but I got the judges' score sheets back. And since then, I've had the privilege of judging and doing all things around the competition. But since I got the judges' score sheet back, the notes that they gave were just incredibly insightful. Stuff that unless I was videoing it and had a pro watch the video, I would have never gotten that feedback. And so that feedback went into the set, and it educated me on what, and of course I saw the other acts too, right? I mean, I was very intimidated by this frog act that some kid did. And anyway, I saw the caliber and I was like, okay, this is opening my eyes to what magic can be, and in a very real way, what magic should be. So the notes I got from the judges were incredibly valuable, and they were supportive. They complimented what I did well, and then they gave very constructive criticism on how I could improve. And I probably made more improvement from that one performance than any other singular performance I've ever done. Right, the growth curve of improvement was so great because so many people, not just the judges, but people came up to me and they were talking to me, and I wanted notes, right? I was asking, what can I do better? What about this? And so I was asking for that. So I made tremendous improvement just in my ability, and it was a low bar to cross, but nevertheless, I crossed it. So that was one thing that was kind of an unintended consequence. I didn't expect to get that level of really useful feedback. The second thing that happened, and this is one thing I always tell folks who are thinking about competing, if they truly have an earnestness, right, a true desire. One of the coolest things that happen when you compete, whether you win or lose, and Ben just talked about it, is that the rest of the competition, or the rest of the convention rather, and even years later, people will remember you. They may not remember your exact name, but you'll have a name tag, and they'll remember that you competed. So at least for the rest of the convention, you're going to be a mini celebrity. Now, you're not doing it to become a mini celebrity, but in terms of meeting people and in terms of networking and in terms of, I would, like many magicians, I think, I'm largely an introvert, right? When I'm on stage, you don't necessarily perceive that, but when I'm off stage, I'm more or less an introvert. So to have magicians and some who I knew and respected come up to me and appreciate what I did, right? And say, good job on the competition. Look forward to seeing you next time. Or I really like this, or, da 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 da, or let me show you this. And I didn't have to solicit those conversations. I didn't have to solicit those relationships. They just happened organically because I was willing to put myself out there for 8 minutes on stage in front of my peers. That was an incredible experience. And so people knew who I was and knew my name after that convention. Several of them I became close friends with, and still have those friendships today. So, that's just another kind of fringe benefit of
Mhm.
competing that I think is often not stated, but
Yep,
it's a great way to meet. Um, it's a great way to meet new folks and network.
for sure. Keith, do you have any competition background?
I have a limited competition background. My competition background actually started when I first started getting into performing professionally, and it wasn't magic competitions. Back in the day in the UK, pub talent shows were a thing.
Hmm.
And they were basically, they'd be put on in a sort of local bar or pub somewhere, and it would be usually there would be once a week for 6 weeks, and then they'd have a grand final at the end. And you'd have anything and everything, like singers, jugglers. I was beaten by a singing dog once. And I mean, who isn't going to vote for a freaking singing dog, for crying out loud? This guy was playing his guitar and singing a song, and the dog joined in. I mean, it was unbelievable. Um, I was also beaten once by a family of Hawaiian dancers, which was kind of weird. I don't even know if they were real Hawaiian dancers. We were in the UK, for crying out loud, so about as far away from Hawaii as you can possibly get.
But that's what it was. It was so novel.
And on the there was one competition where, I mean, to my embarrassment, they were just announcing the winner, and I was almost standing up and walking to the stage already. That some sort of 6-year-old girl singer got the first prize or something. And the judges came up to me afterwards and they said, "Well, you were obviously a professional, so we couldn't give it to you."
Oh, wow.
But I was
Oh.
doing these competitions purely to gain stage time, to gain
Yep.
stage experience,
Yeah,
and kind of that is it's very hard to find places where you could actually get that sort of experience. So that's why I was doing them. So that was my earliest competition experience. Later on in life, I did the Magic Circle close-up competition, which I won, which really surprises me because I'm not known as a close-up guy, and I'm
Hmm.
not really a close-up guy, but got a nice trophy out of that.
Well, it was
And I
that
managed
singing
to
dog you had with you.
Yeah, that was probably what swung it for me. And a couple of times I did the Magic Circle stage competition and came second both times. So, but
I
again,
know what it's like to come in second, Keith.
yeah,
I've been there.
Again, it's the things that you gain from those experiences, though, because you're going into a scenario and you actually work towards it, and I think it's very rare as magicians that we actually really work on that tight. We're working on a segment of our show where we're professional or we're learning stuff for fun. But when you actually have the discipline of having to do the best 8 to 10 minutes you possibly can do, it sort of drives you forwards, and all sorts of people will come out of the woodwork to help you. I know one of the things we're doing with the IBM competition is we ask for, because we've got a huge membership, and it's an open competition. Anyone who is a member can apply to go in either the close-up or the stage competition. So we have to have some sort of weeding out, if you like. And what we do is people submit videos. So we have 8 finalists get through to the final. Um, but those 8 finalists are going to be paired up with a professional magician and given some extra mentorship or extra direction to get them,
Wow,
really
that's
polished
cool.
for the absolute final. And that in itself is actually, if you just imagine you could spend, I mean, we've spoken to people like Jeff Hobson and a couple of other sort of large names in magic, and I mean, if you're a comedy performer and you get to spend an hour on a Zoom call with Jeff Hobson, that's worth a small fortune. We've
How
got.
do I get in this competition? I want that. I want
Well, you
that.
have to submit a video, Jason. But when we say submit a video, we're not asking for like a video of you performing to a sold out crowd in some marvelous theatre. It's quite okay for you to film that sitting at your kitchen table and say, "This is what I want to do in my show." Because we have a panel of judges which are going to be looking at those videos, and we all know that we're actually seeing that act and seeing what it could be when it's put on stage and when it's got sort of a bit of lighting and a bit of sound and the correct audience setup. And that's stuff we're going to help you with. So we just want it to be the best show, and we want to give people an opportunity. I remember the IBM UK British Ring. That had a car. I used to go to their convention every year many years ago when I lived over there, and there they had a come one come all competition, and there were times when, no kidding, they had like 30, 40 entrants in the competition. And I remember one famous competition started at 7:30 in the evening, and it was still going on at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Oh,
And,
oh my goodness.
it was just wild, but everyone was still there. It was crazy. It was like when we had the open mic competition at the not open mic competition, the open mic show we did at
Yeah.
last year's IBM convention. Because that was a come one, come all. We're going to start, we're going to finish with the last person's done. We still had an audience there like 3 hours later for that.
Wow.
Because people love to perform, people love to see other magicians doing their stuff. There were many acts which were hilarious for the wrong reason. Many conventions. We used to find that they're quite often, when we had those with so many performers, there would almost be a theme of the competition. And there was one trick I remember when it came out. I don't know if you remember. It was kind of like a table with a circular tube on top, and you used to show the table had a little tablecloth over it, and you'd show the circular tube empty, put it down. They'd reach down, they'd pull up the tablecloth that was on
Yeah.
the table through the hoop, and then start producing hundreds of umbrellas.
Hmm.
And it was, I think there was one competition that 7 people did that trick.
Oh.
That's a
And
lot
of
of
course,
umbrellas.
the curtains would open and we'd see the props on stage, and everyone would see this thing. And it would be, goes, when's it going to happen? But that,
Okay.
it's not all
Uh,
like that nowadays. As I say, we're trying to be a bit more professional about it. But anyone that wants to that submits for the competition, we're encouraging them, if they don't get through, to come and join us for the open mic show, because we want at the IBM convention to give as many people a chance to perform as want to perform.
That is awesome.
And the competition is only one. Obviously, as far as we're concerned, it's a very important part. And hey, there's good prizes for this competition as well.
Oh, tell me.
There's the first prize. If there's the gold cups and the gold medal, which are not given out every year, but if you win those, you're going to get 3 grand as an adult and 2.5
Hmm.
grand as a junior. It's kind of that is a lot of money. And the junior prize, even if you don't get the gold cups, there's the Phantasma prize package. Now Roger Dreyer has come up with this fantastic prize package. We're working with him at the moment. I've got the details of last year's prize package. I haven't got the exact details of this year's prize package, but it's probably going to be of a similar nature, which involved 2 nights in New York, with hotel and flights paid for, visiting
Ooh.
Phantasma, having lunch with a famous magician. One year that was David Blaine.
Are you serious?
That's what I've been told. Do not know the facts, but someone
Oh
said they
my
went, knocked on a door
gosh.
and discovered that they were meeting David Blaine. Um,
Wow.
Wow.
but Roger has the contacts to pull that off. So it's a huge prize basically, and for a junior to win that, I mean, that could be life changing.
Mhm.
But you
Just
don't.
that sort of
No,
thing.
okay, yeah, that's for the junior.
That's for the
That's for the.
juniors.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, adults
We're all
unfortunately don't
sitting
get
here,
that.
mouths open, wanting it for ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But as I
I can
say,
pass for school for you.
even if you don't win the gold cups, there's still $1,000 prize,
That's
um,
pretty stout. That's
which is
pretty
significant.
stout.
I mean,
Actually,
it's not the 30,000 you get for Blackpool, but
do they pay $30,000
30. I think I read it was £30,000 or something for.
pounds?
Yeah,
That's
of
like
course.
more than 30,000. Wow, that's
Yeah, that's a serious amount of money, but that was their recent competition. But that is I don't quite know how they organise their competition, but anyway, who cares? Blackpool,
I
Perth.
was about to say that's
Yeah,
not why we're having this
let's not
conversation.
mention their competition because ours is much more important.
You know what was when I competed, one of the things that I got out of competition was that I got an act that I have done that I have performed in my show since then. It was an act that I spent a great deal of time working on and honing and trying to make it the absolute best that it can be. And since when I competed at the IBM in 2005, so 20 years, I've been doing that on and off. There have been times when I haven't done it, but for 20 years, I've done that routine, which is a cups and balls routine in my show. And I currently use it to close my show because it's probably out of all the stuff that I do, it's the strongest as far as the amount of magic that is happening, the visual nature of the magic, strong character piece. It's the type of thing that is extremely memorable. And it's because of the amount of time that I put in on it. So I think one of the things that maybe people don't realize is that if you create an act that is doable in other settings, not just in one specific setting, then you have an act that you've really put a lot of time, effort, and thought into. And
Hmm.
it would be a shame if you didn't continue to do it. So your audiences in the future get to be the to be the recipients of all your hard work, whether you win the competition or not.
Yeah. Can I just also say that I don't believe competition magic should be a one and done thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, firstly, the competitions are open to professionals and amateurs. It's not just a thing, a thing for amateurs or just a thing for It's open to everybody. Everybody can learn something and grow through their competition experience. But I think so many people have this attitude of, well, I could never do that. It's not for me. I won't be good enough. Or so many people say, why should I do it? The biggest thing is if you, and by you I mean people listening to this podcast, if you know anyone that you think has got a spark, that has actually got a bit of drive, they want to give this sort of thing a go, just say, have you ever thought about doing the IBM competition? Most people, literally, they wouldn't do it unless they were asked. Dragan and Ferren probably wouldn't have done it if we hadn't have turned around and said, hey guys, do you fancy doing a magic competition? And they
Yeah.
just went, yeah, all right then, because
Yeah.
we asked them. And I think that's
Yep.
the important thing. And that's something that we can all do as IBM members is look at our club and go, who's in our club that maybe could put our ring on the map by actually going to the convention and actually doing well in the competition or just doing the competition. They're going to get some publicity for it. They're going to get some local publicity for it as well. It's a huge thing, but people have to ask people and say and suggest to people they go into the competition, and that's something we can all do.
Yep. Ben, have you thought about being a part of the IBM National Convention?
Yeah, that hoppy thing you do.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
good for it.
I'll workshop it tonight and I'll submit something. We'll see
I'll
how it
just
goes.
Yeah, I'll just echo what you said, Keith, because I think it's important. That's the reason I competed when I did. It was because someone asked. And listen, I wasn't ready for prime time. I wasn't. They weren't asking because they said, "Oh, if you compete, you're going to win." That wasn't it. They knew what I didn't know. They knew the two things that I talked about earlier about massive improvement quickly and meeting new people. They knew that would happen if I competed, and so they didn't twist my arm. They simply suggested, "Hey, we have this competition. Maybe you should think about doing it." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay."
If I can introduce you to the other half of the competition team because she's just
Fantastic.
wandered in here.
Hello, darling.
Lady Sarah.
Darlings. And darling, you're looking gorgeous.
As are you.
No, thanks. What are we talking about? Competitions?
Yes.
Did she literally just walk in the room? She's like, "What, are you on a podcast?"
Yeah.
Sorry, was that really?
She's not dressed for a podcast, as you can see.
Nothing on. I'm like nude.
Don't say you have nothing on when people are listening and they can't see what's going on. You do have something on.
Yes, her spectacles.
It's a
Sorry,
smile.
no, I'm so sorry. I thought this was live. Sorry,
It's not live. Don't worry.
No, okay.
They can edit this out. Can you edit it out? It's not live.
Nope.
Is it?
You know
We
how much
don't-
editing
we
I
don't
do on
really
this?
know
There's
how.
no editing. That is so, Lady Sarah, tell us about what you're thinking about the upcoming competition that you're in charge of. Keith has shared a lot with us. Tell us
I
what you're
heard him
excited
in-
about.
Sorry, I was interrupting you. Yeah, I heard him in the background. He shared a lot, unnecessary amount. I mean, everything he just said, it's exciting, it's new. What's interesting about FISM this year, North America, am I allowed to talk about that?
Competitions other than the IBM
Yeah,
competition.
yes, okay.
You can mention it.
Just because, who came on, oh gosh, I'm going to blank on his name now with his dog.
With the balance thing.
Really famous magician.
Alex Ramon.
Alex Ramon. Yeah, he emceed the.
No, the point was he entered FISM North America.
Yes, but he emceed the IBM competition, didn't he, last year? A couple of years. Stage competition.
He was an MC of one of the shows.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is that, there is a very well-established act.
Yeah.
He can see what it can add to his act, and he's still performing. He's still competing. So for those of you who are out there who are established acts, maybe you've got your own theatre, I don't know, like the Magic Soiree, but you can still perform. You can still get out there and enter a competition. Yeah.
As you were saying earlier, winning is great. Winning is always nice. You getting some money, getting a prize, whatever. But the other things that people will gain from going into the competition are worth so much more than winning. They really are.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Let me share with you. So when I competed in 2005, I competed. I did fairly well. I was very pleased, and then I got home, and there was no follow up. And I tried to get some news coverage. I tried to get something out of it because at the time, back in 2005 when I was competing, the thought process in my mind was, you compete, and if you do well, this is a good news story. This is something good to give you some press so that you can trade on that when you're talking to future clients. You can say, hey, I'm gonna, I won this award, this, that, and the other. So at the time, I did some follow-ups and whatnot. And when years later, I got involved with the I.B.M. on the board and starting the marketing committee. And one of the things that when we started talking about competitions and the contest, and I say, I'm just going to tell you all the truth. I thought I was going to get a lot more out of the I.B.M. competition when I took second place. And I thought everything about the competition was done extremely well, but I was very frustrated that there wasn't anything else out of it. So one of the things that we did was we formed a public relations subcommittee. And last year, Jim Driscoll and Matt Stanley followed up with the folks who won they followed up with the folks who won the competition and the local media in their hometowns. And let's see here. What are the numbers? I have them in front of me. Okay, so a total of 47 news releases were distributed by the I.B.M. subcommittee. So that means that your local media, newspaper, local television channels, received an email from the International Brotherhood of Magicians home office. It was specifically about that person. So 47 releases were distributed by email to newspaper, magazine, online, and TV. and they resulted in six direct stories that are direct results of the efforts that were made. So we went from not support. I mean, the IBM has always done a good job in their competition, but not getting anything, but not being able to get anything out of it after that. And now we have a track record. And it says that 3 of the 4 contest winners received media coverage. So that's fantastic. So that means they competed. And then, as the IBM should be doing, we followed up and said to their local media, hey, you have a competition winner at the international level. This is newsworthy. And because it came from our office, the IBM direct main office, it is newsworthy. It's like, oh, this is a major international organization telling us we have an award-winning magician in our area. And so I'm very proud of the work that those folks are doing, and I think it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole IBM at the moment is sort of making great strides forwards, and it's huge. If you're not watching what's going on, folks, you really should, because there's a lot of exciting things happening in the IBM.
Yeah, it's exciting. And going back to that, I'm sure you've all talked about it, but it's actually the fact they've got a good solid 10 minutes. And from the point of view of booking, and I'm booking out to corporates all the time, and if I just need someone short notice, I know who my guys are who've got that solid time.
Yep.
And it's definitely a good thing. You have to put the effort in, though. It's a lot of work.
True. Oh, absolutely. All right, Keith, Lady Sarah, what do they need to know about being involved in the IBM competition this year?
Well, all the details obviously are on the IBM website. They can find it, or they can email us at
IBM. Oh, hold on, come back. I'll go back.
Gotcha. I can never remember if it's IBM contests or IBM contests at Gmail. She's got to double check.
If you're listening to the podcast, go get your pen, because right now Lady Sarah's going to get that email address.
Absolutely. So the basically what's going to happen is, what you need if you want to enter the competition, we need to see a video of roughly what that competition act is going to look like. And we need those. Really, the cutoff date is around about the beginning of May for that. So you need to get working as soon as possible. At the end of May, we will be announcing the 8 entrances for the stage competition and 8 entrances for the close-up competition. And then they're going to be matched up with a professional who's going to be able to go through their act with them and help them polish it and make it as good as it possibly can be for the final, which is going to be in Houston in July. And Sarah's just reminding us, it is IBM Magic Contest at gmail.com.
Which is a bit of a mouthful.
IBM Magic Contest at
gmail.com. That's our contest email address. So any questions, go there.
And that'll be coming to you all.
That comes out directly to us, yes.
Directly
via various electrons and
via carrier
satellites and things like that. Yes. So not indirect. It'll come indirectly to us.
Sir, personally, no bots involved. No AI.
IA.
It's a dyslexic moment.
I was out.
Thanks, Ben. Yes, we will reply, and we will.
And if anyone has any questions, there's comedy prizes, and there's various other things involved in the competition as well. So talk to us if you're interested in doing the competition. Please contact us, email us. We'll phone you back, have a conversation with you, answer any questions, whatever you need.
We're very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
They are, and I'm guessing you all have already had some folks reach out to you. So
we've had a few entries already.
We've had some international acts already. So they're coming from overseas.
Yes, we are the International Brotherhood of Magicians after all, so it's only right we should have an international act in the competition.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, all right, we're wrapping it up. Any last thoughts, Ben, Scott? Any final things you want to share?
I'll just say.
Okay, never mind. I'd rather hear what's going on.
All right, let's talk over each other. Everybody talk.
Can I drop while I really interrupt?
Everybody talk.
No, that's all I had to say.
All right, Scott.
I just wanted to say I would encourage anyone who's thinking about competing to find out more information, and I would encourage you to compete. If you want to win, then work hard, put the time in, put together a great act, work with people around you, and make the effort to win. But that is not the only reason to compete. There are many, many other worthwhile reasons, as if we've talked about here, that can make joining and being a part of competition, or at least getting in the process, worthwhile. So I would encourage you to do that. Second thing I want to say is I want to say thank you to Keith and Lady Sarah for the organization around this. It's not an easy thing to do. I was a competition chairperson for a smaller convention back in the day, and it is worthwhile work, but it is not easy work. So thank you all for what you all are doing.
Scott, if somebody wants to reach out to you and tell you how great a job you're doing on the podcast, how do they do that? How do they connect with you on your socials or your email? What do you give? What's the contact information you're willing to give out?
I.B.M Magic Contest at gmail.com. Will reach me indirectly. No, if you want to reach me directly, my best email, my personal email for this world is Scott Cantrell, rwm at gmail.com.
We're going to talk about that at some point.
I know, but hey.
All right.
But that is the good one. That's my good magic personal email address.
That's your Gmail. All right, Ben, what are your thoughts?
So I just wanted to circle back to something that Keith mentioned really briefly at the beginning of the episode, which is that a magic competition is a showcase of magic. And so just to re-encourage people that maybe are hesitant about competing because they don't know if they will place or if they'll win, whatever, that if they just have something interesting that they want to showcase, it's such a good opportunity to do it. And, even though it'd be great for it to be an act like Jason did when he competed, that he still does in his show, it is also an opportunity to work on something creative that maybe you don't normally get to do in your normal show, that, because you're limited to doing double cross every gig that you do. And now you have a chance to do something that's close up, that's maybe a little bit longer form, and it gives you have those constraints still, but it's just a cool opportunity to do something different and to showcase interesting, cool, good magic.
And all your fans who are recognizing you, how do they contact you, Ben?
It's Hoppy at Gmail. Social media is probably the easiest way to do it. I'm Ben Young Live, just about anywhere: Instagram, Facebook, etc.
And none of the cool kids use email anymore. Just DM him. That means direct message him on his socials.
Ooh, look at you.
Thanks.
I know.
Boomer.
Look, the problem is people are looking at me and they're going, that guy doesn't look like he should know anything about social media.
Jason, you slay.
What's wrong with carrier pigeon?
I don't know.
I don't know. I like them. They were good in the old days.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Keith
We have
Fields,
no
Lady
election.
Sarah,
What?
final thoughts.
Final thought. Okay, I have a very important final thought. If you are thinking at all about entering the competition, you should enter. If you're not thinking at all about entering the competition, you should think about it. There we go. That was deep.
Excellent.
That's fantastic. And one more time for the email to contact you about competing.
I.B.M Magic Contest
at gmail.com.
Love it.
DM stuff for us.
DM us on our socials.
Yeah.
We've got socials, Ben. Oh, yes.
I didn't say you didn't.
And I tell you what, there was a tease there. Lady Sarah mentioned something about the Magic Soiree. We're going to have the two of you come back in a future episode and tell us more about what you're doing at the Magic Soiree, which is
anytime.
Which is an amazing venue. We'll learn more about it in a future podcast. If you want more information about the I.B.M convention, you can check out www. I don't even think you have to type that in anymore. Do you have to? Probably not. Anyway, you can see. That's why I shouldn't be talking about social media. I still think you have to type in the W's. Anyway, if you go online, type the letters I.B.M and then the word convention.com in, and you're going to learn all about what's going on, all the incredible talent that we have, the competition. The schedule is posted now. So if you want more information about the I.B.M convention, which is happening in July in Houston, Texas at the Royal Sonesta Hotel, check it out. You can find me. My name is Jason Michaels. You can find me online at Jason Michaels Magic. And Go online, go on your favorite podcast host, go on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or any of the ones that you're listening to us on right now. Leave us a review. Let people know about what you think about the podcast. Make sure to subscribe so that you will be notified the next time that the next podcast goes live. But this has been a whole lot of fun, and we look forward to hopefully entertaining you the next time we do this again. This has been the official IBM podcast. You guys have a good one. Take care.
Cheerio.
All right, good job.
Perfect.
Are we out?
We're out.
I have a new
I'll-
lipstick
we're out.
on.
Well, okay. Don't worry about it. It's not really videoed that much. I mean, is it on video at all? I don't
yeah,
know.
it's on video.
Oh, right.
Oh no.